I used to think love was enough. That if I worked hard, stayed honest, and treated her right, it would all balance out somehow. That night taught me how wrong I was. Ethan, are you sure about this? Noah asked as we stood outside the grand ballroom, the glow of chandeliers spilling onto the marble floor. My thrift store suit hung a little loose, the sleeves slightly too long. I smiled anyway. Yeah. Lila said she wanted me there. I can't keep avoiding her world forever. He sighed. Her world costs more than our rent combined. I laughed nervously and straightened my tie. She doesn't care about money. She said that. Noah didn't answer. He just patted my shoulder. Then go prove me wrong. I walked in, heart pounding. The air smelled like perfume and champagne. Everyone looked perfect, designer dresses, tailored tuxedos. I tried not to feel small, but the weight of my suit suddenly grew heavier. Then I saw her. Lila stood near the bar, surrounded by her friends. Her red dress shimmered under the lights. When she saw me, her smile faltered for a split second, just long enough for me to notice. Ethan, she said, waving me over. Her tone was sweet, but her eyes flickered nervously toward her friends. Hey, I said, forcing a smile. You look incredible. She laughed softly. Thank you. You made it. I told you I would, I said, trying to sound confident. I didn't want to miss your big night. One of her friends, a tall guy with slick hair, smirked. You're Lila's boyfriend, right? Bold choice coming in vintage. I blinked. Vintage? Lila's friend giggled. He means your suit, she said quickly. I looked down at my jacket, then back up. Yeah, it's not much. Just something I could afford. The tall guy grinned. Honest. I like that. Lila shifted uncomfortably. Ethan, could you maybe grab us some drinks? Champagne, please. Sure. I walked to the bar, pretending not to notice the whispers behind me. My hands trembled as I picked up 2 glasses. When I turned back, I saw them laughing, all of them. Lila covered her mouth, her eyes wide with amusement. Come on, Lila, one girl said loudly. You're dating him. That's adorable. He looks like he's about to apply for an internship, not attend a gala. Lila laughed. Actually laughed. Stop it, she said between giggles. He's just different. My chest tightened. The room seemed smaller, voices sharper. I walked up, placing the glasses on the table. Here. Lila looked up, still smiling. Thanks, Ethan. You didn't have to. I heard what you said, I interrupted quietly. Her friends went silent. She blinked, her fake smile fading. It was just a joke. Don't take it so seriously. A joke? I asked, my throat dry. That I look poor. That I don't belong here. Her tone sharpened. Ethan, please. Don't make a scene. A scene? I repeated, feeling my voice tremble. You brought me here. You said you wanted me to meet your friends. I did. But, she looked around, embarrassed. You could have at least tried to look like you fit in. Her words hit harder than I expected. I'm sorry I couldn't afford designer brands, I said softly. One of the guys snorted. There's always next season, bro. I turned to leave, but Lila's next words froze me. You'll never fit into my world, Ethan. Just accept that. For a moment, everything went quiet. The laughter, the chatter, all of it blurred out. I stared at her, at the person I thought I knew. My chest felt hollow. I set the untouched champagne on the table. Right, I whispered. Your world. As I walked away, I heard her friends murmuring, one of them laughing again. I didn't turn back. I didn't trust myself to. Outside, the night air felt cold against my face. I kept walking, down the marble steps, past the glowing cars and glittering people. Noah was waiting near the curb. When he saw me, his face fell. "Ethan, what happened?" I didn't answer. I just kept walking. He followed. "Did she?" "She laughed," I said finally, my voice breaking. "At me. At my clothes. In front of everyone." Noah swore under his breath. "She doesn't deserve you, man." I stopped under a streetlight. "No," I said quietly. "She doesn't. But she taught me something." He frowned. "What?" I looked down at my hands, calloused, tired, empty, and whispered, "People only respect what shines. So I'll shine." Noah shook his head. "Ethan. I'm done being the joke," I said, my voice steadying. "She wanted a man who fits her world. I'll build one she can't even touch." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "If anyone can, it's you." The wind carried the faint sound of laughter from the ballroom behind us. It stung like a fresh wound. I didn't turn around. That night, as I lay in my small apartment, I replayed her words over and over, "You'll never fit into my world." Every syllable burned. But beneath the pain, something new began to grow, a quiet, cold fire. I stared at the cracked ceiling and whispered into the dark, "You're right, Lila. I'll never fit into your world, because I'll build my own. And when I do, everyone who laughed will know my name." The morning after the gala, her name was everywhere, whispers in the halls, photos online, her laughing in that red dress beside Marcus Reed. When I called, she didn't answer. When I texted, she read it and didn't reply. By noon, I understood what silence meant. I went to her apartment anyway. She opened the door halfway, eyes cold. "Ethan, you shouldn't be here." "I just want to talk," I said. "Please." "There's nothing to talk about." "Nothing?" My voice cracked. "You humiliated me, Lila. In front of everyone." She sighed, leaning against the doorframe. "You embarrassed yourself. I told you that night wasn't for you. Not for me." I laughed bitterly. "You invited me. I didn't think you'd actually come in that suit," she said quietly. "So that's it? You're leaving me because I can't afford a brand name?" She hesitated, then said the words that carved me hollow, "I'm with Marcus now." The world went still. Marcus? The guy who mocked me? He understands my life, Ethan. My goals. He can offer things you can't. I stared at her. Like money. Her jaw tightened. "Don't make this ugly." "It already is." She looked away. "You'll thank me one day. We're from different worlds." I felt my hands trembling. "You said you loved me." I did. But love doesn't pay for the future. Something in me snapped. "Then I hope your future's worth the price of your soul." She flinched but didn't stop me when I walked away. The days after that blurred together. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Everywhere I went, someone had something to say. "Man, I heard Lila left you for Reed," a classmate said once, smirking. "Tough luck, bro." I kept walking. Noah found me one night sitting outside the campus library, staring at my phone. "She blocked you, didn't she?" he asked, sitting beside me. "Yeah." He handed me a cup of instant coffee. "Then stop trying. She made her choice. I thought we were building something real." He sighed. "You were. She wasn't. I can't even hate her," I muttered. "That's the worst part." "Then don't waste your time feeling sorry, either," he said. "You don't need her to prove your worth, Ethan." I looked at him, tired. What worth? The one she couldn't see, he said simply. So find it yourself. I took a job at a small café 2 blocks from campus. The manager, Mrs. Lane, didn't ask many questions. You ever made coffee before? She asked during the interview. No, I admitted. She smiled. Good. Means you'll learn my way. Nights were long. I cleaned tables, refilled sugar jars, burned my fingers more times than I could count. But the routine numbed the ache. Sometimes, customers wore the same perfume Lila used. I'd freeze mid-step, heart skipping, only to realize it wasn't her. One slow night, Noah dropped by, backpack slung over his shoulder. Still breathing? Barely, I said, wiping a counter. He looked at me carefully. You look different. Do I? Yeah. Like you stopped expecting her to come back. I smirked faintly. Maybe I did. He leaned on the counter. So what now? I looked at the steaming espresso machine, the quiet hum of the cafe around us. I work. I study. I save. And one day, he prompted. She'll see me again, I said softly, feeling the words burn through my chest. But not like this. He grinned. That's the Ethan I know. When he left, I sat by the window, staring out at the flickering streetlights. My reflection in the glass looked worn, older. But behind the exhaustion, I saw something else, something sharper. Anger. Focus. The kind of pain that doesn't break you, it rebuilds you. I picked up a napkin and started sketching random lines, shapes, patterns, anything to keep my hands busy. I didn't realize until later that I was drawing clothes. Designs. It made no sense, but it felt right. Outside, rain began to fall. Each drop hit the glass like a ticking clock. I thought of Lila, of Marcus, of the way she'd laughed that night. And for the first time, the memory didn't crush me. It fueled me. I whispered under my breath, keep laughing, Lila. I'm coming for everything you said I'd never have. Then I turned the lights off, locked the cafe door, and walked into the rain, heartbroken, but burning inside. It started with a napkin. Another long night at the cafe, same flickering lights, same burnt coffee smell. I was sketching between orders again, trying to capture the folds of a jacket I'd imagined last night. It wasn't for anyone. Just something to keep my mind from rusting. Excuse me, a woman's voice said. Is that seat taken? I looked up. She was maybe in her late 30s, sharp suit, confident posture, eyes that noticed everything. No, go ahead, I said. She sat, placed her phone on the table, then tilted her head toward my napkin. You drew that? Yeah, I said, a little embarrassed. Just passing time. Passing time? She smiled faintly. That's a proper sketch. The angles, the folds, you've got an eye for form. I shrugged. It's nothing serious. It looks serious. Her voice made me meet her gaze. You into fashion or something? I asked. Grace Allen, she said, extending a hand. I run a small label called Allen Atelier. I froze. I'd heard that name, small but respected, known for its minimalist style. You're serious. She chuckled. I try to be. What's your name? Ethan. Ethan Cole. Well, Ethan, she said, sliding the napkin toward her, if this is what you draw for fun, what do you do when you're focused? I hesitated. I don't really know. I've never had the chance to try. She nodded slowly. No design school. I shook my head. Couldn't afford it. I just sketch ideas sometimes. She studied me for a moment. Tell me something. When you draw, what are you thinking about? I frowned. About how people hide behind clothes. How they use them to prove something. Her lips curved slightly. That's a better answer than half the designers I've met. I blinked. You're joking. I'm not, she said. I'm serious enough to offer you an internship. I laughed, the tired, surprised kind. An internship? You barely know me. I know talent when I see it, she said. You'd start small, assisting, learning the ropes. It doesn't pay much. I already don't make much, I said, still stunned. Then you've got nothing to lose. I stared at her. Why me? Her expression softened. Because you look like someone who's hungry. And hunger makes people create. I didn't answer right away. Part of me wanted to refuse. The other part, the louder one, whispered maybe this is the door you've been waiting for. Okay, I said finally. I'll do it. She smiled. Good. Show up tomorrow morning at 9. Don't be late. The next day, I stood outside Atelier, heart racing. The place smelled of fabric and steam, machines humming inside. Grace looked up from her desk when I entered. You came, she said. I said I would. Good. You'll start by observing. Then we'll see what you can do. I spent hours watching designers pin fabrics, adjust seams, and argue over color shades I didn't even know existed. I carried rolls of cloth, made coffee, cleaned up threads off the floor, whatever needed doing. At one point, Grace called me over. Ethan, what do you think of this cut? I hesitated. Honestly? It looks too forced. The shoulder line doesn't flow with the waist. One designer scoffed. He's a barista, Grace. She smiled faintly. Maybe. But he's right. The designer blinked. Excuse me. Grace pointed at the jacket. The flow is off. Try adjusting the line. As she walked past me, she whispered, trust your eye, not your title. That sentence stuck. Days turned into weeks. I'd leave the café at midnight, crash for a few hours, and show up to the atelier by 9. Exhaustion became normal. But for the first time since Lila, I felt alive. One afternoon, Grace found me sketching again during lunch. You never stop drawing, do you? She said. I smiled. It's the only time my head shuts up. She sat beside me. What do you hear when it doesn't? Voices, I said quietly. The kind that laugh when you fail. The kind that say you'll never fit in. She nodded slowly. Then let them laugh. Just make sure they're clapping later. I looked at her, surprised. You talk like you've been there. Her expression dimmed for a moment. Everyone who builds something worth keeping starts there. She picked up my sketch and studied it. You design from pain, Ethan. That's rare. Pain creates the best artists, if you let it. I swallowed hard. I don't know if I'm an artist. Then stop doubting, she said. Start proving. Something clicked inside me then, like a lock finally turning. I realized I wasn't just running from humiliation anymore. I was building something toward it. That night, as I left the atelier, Noah called. You alive? Barely, I said, smiling. Still at that fashion place? Yeah. Grace thinks I can actually design. He laughed. You. The guy who once sewed a button with duct tape. Shut up, I said, chuckling. Things are changing, Noah. Good. You deserve it. As the call ended, I looked at the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. My hands were blistered, my back hurt, and I hadn't slept properly in days. But for the first time in months, I didn't feel small. I felt hungry. I whispered to myself, let them laugh. I'll make them wear my name someday. And deep down, I knew I meant it. Again, Grace said, her voice sharp over the hum of the sewing machines. You're rushing the stitch. I sighed. It's my third attempt today. Then make the fourth one perfect. I bit my lip, adjusted the fabric, and tried again. My hands ached, my eyes burned, but when I finished the final line, she leaned over, inspecting it. Better, she said simply. That one word meant everything. Grace, I muttered, you ever get tired of doing this? She smiled. Every day. But I don't stop, because stopping kills talent faster than failure. I nodded quietly. That became my rule too. Years slipped by in the rhythm of needles and deadlines. I started small, hemming, cutting, sketching. Then, piece by piece, I found my rhythm. Grace pushed me hard, but she also taught me how to push myself. One evening, after everyone had left, she came into the studio and saw me hunched over a half-finished blazer. You're still here? She asked. I couldn't get the shoulder seam right, I said. It's bothering me. She chuckled softly. You remind me of me when I started. Obsessive. Stubborn. Starving for precision. I can't help it, I said. Every flaw feels personal. She crossed her arms. Good. That's how you know you care. A few years later, I stood in a small rented workspace downtown, cracked walls, flickering lights, but it was mine. A handwritten sign taped to the door read Cole Atelier. No investors. No luxury machines. Just a dream stitched together with caffeine and defiance. Noah stopped by, whistling low. You actually did it. Barely, I said. But it's a start. He ran his fingers along one of the jackets on display. You made this? Yeah. Took me 3 nights. He smiled. Looks expensive. It's not, I said. But one day it will be. Grace came by the next week. She walked in, scanned the room, and smiled faintly. It smells like ambition in here. I grinned. That, or glue. She laughed. You've come a long way. Because you didn't let me quit, I said. I didn't need to, she replied. You were too angry to quit. I blinked. Angry? You think I didn't notice? That fire in you wasn't just ambition, Ethan. It was revenge, sharpened into discipline. I looked away. Maybe. She placed a hand on my shoulder. Whatever it is, keep it controlled. Rage builds quickly, but patience builds empires. Those words carved themselves into me. Months turned into years of slow, grinding growth. Clients trickled in. A few local magazines mentioned my designs. Every sale felt like a heartbeat. I learned how to manage orders, talk to clients, and negotiate without flinching. I stopped apologizing for wanting more. One night, I stood before a mirror in a crisp suit I'd made myself. I barely recognized the man staring back, cleaner lines, steadier eyes. Noah dropped by, grinning. Look at you. You've turned into one of those serious fashion guys. I smirked. Don't jinx it. He leaned against the wall. Grace would be proud. She already told me once, I said. Then told me to stop celebrating and get back to work. He laughed. Sounds like her. 2 years later, during a small local fashion show, my collection walked the runway. The applause wasn't thunderous, but it was real. Backstage, Grace hugged me for the first time. You did it. I shook my head. Not yet. But I'm getting closer. She looked me in the eye. Closer to what? Peace, I said. She smiled faintly. That's not what I see. Then what do you see? Someone who's planning his next move. She wasn't wrong. One rainy afternoon, I was sketching new designs when Noah burst into the studio, phone in hand. You're not gonna believe this. I looked up. What? He handed me the screen. The headline read, Lila Evans and Marcus Reed launch new luxury fashion label, LM Elite. I froze for a second. Then smiled. Perfect. Noah frowned. You're not mad. Why would I be? Because they did exactly what they always do, I interrupted. They built something to be seen. I'm building something to last. He studied me. You've changed. I had to. That night, I stayed in the studio long after everyone left. Rain tapped against the windows. I stared at my sketches, the lines cleaner, the shapes bolder. I whispered, Atelier. It still sounded small, but it carried weight. My weight. I thought of Lila's voice years ago, you'll never fit into my world, Ethan. I smiled. Good, I murmured. Because I'm building my own. A few weeks later, Grace invited me to dinner. To celebrate your progress, she said. At the restaurant, she raised her glass. You've done well. I've just started. Still, she said, smiling. Do you know what I like about you? I shook my head. You've learned the difference between wanting success and becoming it. I tilted my glass toward hers. To becoming. To never forgetting where you began, she said softly. Walking home, I passed a boutique window displaying one of Lila's new designs. Sleek. Polished. Soulless. I paused, staring at it for a moment. The old sting was gone. Instead, I felt calm. Controlled. Ready. I whispered, you had your laugh, Lila. Now it's my turn. Then I walked on, suit damp with rain, eyes fixed ahead, ambition burning steady and silent. The air inside the expo hall felt electric, sharp with perfume, camera flashes, and ambition. My booth sat neatly polished, minimalist, with Atelier in bold silver across the banner. Months of sleepless nights stood behind that name. Noah leaned against the counter, grinning. You're actually nervous. I adjusted my tie. I'm not nervous. Just, aware. Sure, he teased. Your hands say otherwise. I flexed my fingers. Maybe they remember what broke ones feel like. He chuckled. Relax. You're on the big stage now, man. You belong here. Before I could reply, I heard a voice, familiar, too polished, too practiced. Excuse me, is this Atelier? I turned. Lila stood across from me, perfectly styled, her hair swept back, wearing a sleek black dress. Beside her was Marcus Reed, all smug confidence and moneyed arrogance. My stomach tightened, but my expression didn't change. It is. Her eyes flickered across my setup, the tailored jackets, the sketches framed behind me, the small but elegant presentation. You're here, she said softly. I am, I replied. And you're still on time for grand entrances. Marcus smirked. Didn't know they let boutique brands in expos like this. I smiled faintly. They made an exception. Maybe they needed a reminder that class isn't always bought. Noah stifled a laugh. Marcus stepped closer, inspecting one of my blazers. Interesting, he said, dragging out the word. But a little, plain, don't you think? Plain sells when it fits, I said. He smirked. Or when it's cheap. Funny, I said. That's what people say about knockoffs. The tension snapped like a pulled thread. For a second, neither spoke. Then, to my left, a buyer approached, a woman in a cream suit holding a clipboard. Mr. Cole, she asked. Yes. I saw your line online. Your use of texture and restraint, it's refreshing. Do you have time to discuss distribution? Absolutely. As I spoke with her, Lila's gaze stayed locked on me. The buyer touched the lapel of one of my pieces. "Your craftsmanship is excellent," she said. "Luxury doesn't have to scream. It whispers." I smiled. That's the goal. When she left, Noah leaned toward me, whispering, "You just landed a deal in front of them." I exhaled slowly. I noticed. Marcus's smile faltered. "Well, that was lucky." "Luck," I said, "is just preparation meeting the moment you thought wouldn't come." He scoffed. "We'll see how long your little project lasts once real competition starts." I looked him dead in the eye. It already started. Later, during the showcase, Lila's booth glittered with glass, gold, and noise. Models posed under bright lights, wearing gowns heavy with excess. Across from them, my booth was quieter, sharp lines, clean cuts, purpose. Buyers drifted between us. I didn't have to speak much, my work did it for me. When the announcement came, Best Emerging Label, Atelier, applause broke out like a ripple. Noah grabbed my shoulder. "You did it, Ethan." I breathed in slowly, steady. "No," I said. "We did." Across the aisle, Marcus's face hardened. Lila's expression shifted, surprise, disbelief, something softer beneath it. When the crowd thinned, she approached. "Congratulations," she said quietly. "Thanks." "I didn't expect," she paused, glancing at my setup again. "You've changed." I met her eyes. "No," I said softly. "I just stopped pretending I wasn't enough." Her lips parted, but no sound came. For the first time, she looked uncertain. "Ethan," she said finally, "I never meant to." "To what?" I interrupted. "Hurt me? Humiliate me? Or remind me I'd never fit in?" Her shoulders tensed. "You don't understand how hard it was." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I said. "You were afraid of being seen with someone who didn't look like money. But you forgot one thing." She swallowed. "What?" "Value doesn't depend on who's watching." Marcus appeared beside her, clearly irritated. "We don't have time for this," he snapped. "Come on, Lila." She hesitated. "Just a minute." He frowned. "For what?" "He's a vendor, not a rival." I smiled faintly. "That's the thing about rivals, Marcus, they don't announce themselves. They arrive." He scowled. "Enjoy your small win. The market's not kind to amateurs." "Neither am I said evenly." He grabbed Lila's hand and turned away. She glanced back once, her eyes searching mine for something, regret, forgiveness, maybe both. But all she found was calm. After they left, Noah nudged me. "That was brutal." "I didn't plan it." He grinned. "That's what made it better." I laughed quietly. I used to think revenge would feel loud, like shouting in their faces, proving them wrong. And now? "Now it feels quiet," I said. "Like peace." He tilted his head. "Still hurts, though." I hesitated. "A little. But it's a different kind of pain. The kind that reminds you you've healed." He smiled. Grace would have been proud. She taught me everything that mattered. The expo began winding down. My booth was nearly empty, just a few remaining visitors admiring the designs. A young designer stopped by, wide-eyed. "Your work's incredible," she said. "I'm starting my own line, but it's terrifying." I smiled. "It should be. If it's not, you're not doing it right." She nodded. "Any advice?" "Yeah," I said. "Let the world laugh once. Then make them regret it quietly." She grinned. "I'll remember that." As I packed up, Noah whistled low. "That's a full circle day if I've ever seen one." Feels strange, I admitted. I thought seeing them again would bring all the anger back. And it didn't. He smiled. Guess that's what winning looks like. I paused, looking across the hall at Lila's booth. The lights had dimmed. She stood alone for a moment before walking away, heels echoing on marble. I whispered, "Goodbye, Lila." Then I turned off my own lights, the sign Col Atelier glowing faintly against the empty room. No more pretending. No more chasing approval. Just me, my craft, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing. They laughed once. I built an empire out of it. The rumors started like soft rain, barely noticeable at first. A whispered headline here, a hushed conversation there. By the end of the week, the drizzle had become a storm. Marcus Reed. Fraud allegations. Investors pulling out. I read the news over coffee one morning, the bitter taste matching the article's tone. Luxury label under investigation for financial misconduct. His photo was plastered everywhere, the same smug smile that once looked down on me. Noah leaned over my shoulder. Poetic, huh? I closed the laptop slowly. Karma writes its own scripts. You're not gonna say anything? No, I said. I've said enough in silence. He grinned. Still, I bet it feels good. I hesitated. It does. Maybe too good. A few days later, I was at the studio finalizing designs when the door creaked open. Harper, Lila's old friend, stood there, looking nervous. Harper? I asked. It's been years. She smiled faintly. You look different. Different's an understatement, I said, wiping my hands on a fabric cloth. What brings you here? She shifted awkwardly. I wasn't sure if I should come. But Lila's been, well, she's been having a rough time. I looked up. Rough how? Marcus's company's imploding. She's stuck in the middle of it. People are cutting ties. Reporters won't leave her alone. I folded my arms. And this concerns me because. She hesitated. Because she talks about you. A lot. Talks about me. She said she was wrong. That she chose the wrong world. I laughed under my breath. Funny. I remember her saying I'd never fit into hers. She meant it then, Harper said softly. She doesn't now. I leaned against the counter. Regret doesn't erase a wound, Harper. It just arrives too late to matter. She asked me to tell you she's sorry, she said. That's all. I looked at her for a long moment. Tell her I said nothing. Harper frowned. Nothing. Nothing, I repeated. Silence will say more than words ever could. She studied me. You've really changed. No, I said quietly. I just stopped needing her to understand. Later that night, my mother called. Her voice carried that calm warmth that never aged. Ethan, she said, I saw the news about those people from your past. I smiled faintly. You always hear things before I do. Mothers always do, she teased. Then her tone softened. How do you feel about it? I don't know, I admitted. It's strange. Part of me feels vindicated. Another part feels nothing at all. That nothing, she said, is peace trying to speak. I was quiet for a moment. They laughed at me, Mom. They made me feel small. I remember, she said gently. But tell me, are you still that boy? I looked around my office, the sketches, the awards, the framed photo of the first jacket I ever sold. No, I said. I'm not. Then don't become the thing you hated, she said. Let their fall be theirs, not your celebration. I breathed slowly. You always know when to say the right thing. That's my job, she said with a chuckle. And yours is to keep moving forward. Forward, I repeated. Yeah. That's what Grace would have wanted too. She'd be proud, Mom said softly. I am too. Her words lingered after the call ended. A week later, Noah burst into the studio, phone in hand. You have to see this. He showed me a clip, Marcus outside a courthouse, reporters swarming. Lila was beside him, her face pale, her expression hollow. She looks destroyed, Noah muttered. She looks like someone who finally sees herself, I said quietly. You really don't want to reach out? Even just to talk? No, I said. Some stories don't need sequels. He frowned. But closure. I got mine, I interrupted. The moment she laughed at me, my old life ended. Everything after that has been peace disguised as work. Noah studied me. You're colder than I remember. Not cold, I said. Just done bleeding for people who handed me the knife. He let out a low whistle. That's dark. I smirked. It's honest. That night, I stood by the window of my apartment, the city lights flickering below. My reflection looked calm, maybe even distant. I thought about the first time I'd shown Lila a design, how she'd smiled and said, you could make something beautiful someday. Someday came. And she wasn't there to see it. For a brief second, I imagined what I'd say if she ever showed up at my door. But the words felt hollow before they even formed. Some moments are meant to stay unsaid. Instead, I whispered to the empty room, I forgive you. It wasn't for her. It was for me. The next morning, I walked into the studio early. The world was quiet, just the sound of fabric being cut, the hum of the sewing machine. Noah walked in later with 2 coffees. So, no victory dance? I smiled. No need. Their downfall doesn't build my success. He raised an eyebrow. That's new. I spent years fighting ghosts, I said. Now I'd rather build something that outlives them. He handed me a cup. To growth, then. To growth, I said, lifting it in a mock toast. By noon, the headlines shifted again. Another scandal. Another fall. I didn't read them. I didn't have to. Grace once told me, pain creates the best artists. She was right, but I finally understood the second half of that truth. Pain doesn't have to stay. It just has to teach. I looked at my latest design on the mannequin, clean lines, steady form, quiet strength. The kind of piece that spoke without shouting. That was me now. Silent. Steady. Unbothered. Their world was crumbling. Mine was only beginning. And as I turned off my phone and went back to work, I felt it, not triumph, not revenge, but peace. The kind that doesn't need applause. The kind that simply breathes. Do you always frown when you work, or is that your design face? I looked up from the sketches, startled. A woman stood by my desk, holding a coffee cup and smiling like she'd just caught me doing something ridiculous. I don't frown, I said. I focus. Focus looks suspiciously like suffering. She slid the cup toward me. Here. Grace said you forget to drink water, so I assumed you forget coffee too. I raised a brow. You just started yesterday and already you're diagnosing my habits. Observation, she said simply, pulling up a chair beside me. I'm Ava. I know. The new designer who doesn't believe in luxury labels. She laughed softly. Oh, I believe they exist. I just don't worship them. I couldn't help but smile. You might be in the wrong industry, then. Or the right one, she countered. Someone has to remind people why fashion started, to express, not impress. Her words lingered longer than I expected. I'd built Atelier to prove myself, to win, to show the world, and Lila, that I could be more. But Ava's tone carried none of that hunger. It was peaceful. So what brought you here? I asked, sketching again. You, she said. I froze mid-line. Me? Well, not you. Your designs. They feel honest. Not desperate to please. It's rare. That's not what I usually hear. Then people aren't paying attention. Her calm certainty disarmed me. For years, I'd trained myself to guard every word, every gesture. With her, my defenses faltered. Later that week, we stayed late finalizing a client piece. She hummed quietly while stitching. I leaned back, watching her work, sleeves rolled, hair messy, utterly unbothered. You don't seem stressed, I said. Why should I be? Because this order's due tomorrow and we're hours behind. She shrugged. Panic doesn't sew faster. I chuckled. You really don't care about pressure, do you? Pressure ruins art. I care about truth in the fabric. Feel it, it tells you when to stop forcing it. I ran my fingers over the material. It felt smoother somehow, alive. You talk like a poet. I just listen to what most people ignore, she said. Something about that line stayed with me. Maybe because I'd ignored a lot, my pain, my worth, my heart. Days turned into weeks. Ava became the quiet rhythm in my office, humming, teasing, grounding me without trying. One evening, as the city lights glowed through the studio glass, she looked up from her sketchbook. Ethan, she said softly, you design like someone who's been broken. I hesitated. Maybe I was. But you also design like someone who healed himself with a needle and thread. I looked at her. You think I'm healed? She smiled faintly. I think you're remembering how to breathe. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words replayed in my head like a song stuck between meaning and memory. A week later, during a team meeting, Ava presented a concept, minimalist cuts, natural tones, no logos. The world doesn't need louder clothes, she said. It needs honest ones. Everyone nodded, even Grace. I just sat there, proud, and oddly at peace. Afterward, I caught Ava by the door. You realize your designs could change the direction of this brand. She tilted her head. Is that good or bad? Good, I said. It's the direction I didn't know I needed. She smiled, walking out with her sketchbook pressed to her chest. Then we're both designing honestly now. When she left, I stared at the empty doorway. The studio felt quiet but not lonely. For the first time in years, I didn't think about revenge or success. I thought about calm hands, honest stitches, and a woman who didn't care about brands, only truth. And somehow, in her quiet rebellion, I found the part of me that still believed in love. I was at the flagship store, walking past displays of Atelier's newest line, the soft lighting, the quiet hum of elegance, the smell of leather and lavender. It still amazed me sometimes, how far I'd come. Then I heard a voice I hadn't heard in years. Excuse me, this jacket, what collection is it from? I froze. That voice. Smooth, careful, a little too practiced. I turned. Lila. She stood there, holding one of my jackets against her body, smiling faintly at the attendant. My logo shimmered subtly on the tag. She didn't notice, not yet. The salesgirl smiled. That's from our Evolve collection. Atelier's signature line. Lila's smile faltered. Atelier. Yes, ma'am. Designed by Ethan Cole himself. Her fingers tightened on the fabric. Slowly, her eyes lifted, and met mine. I almost pitied her. Ethan, she whispered. I didn't realize. I smiled slightly. It's all right. Most people don't notice what's worth noticing until it's too late. Her lips parted, then closed again. You own this place. I built it. She looked around, the mirrored walls, the attentive staff, the elegant customers sipping champagne while shopping. It's beautiful. Thank you, I said simply. Silence stretched between us, thick with everything unsaid. Finally, she took a breath. Maybe I made a mistake. I studied her face, the flawless makeup, the exhaustion in her eyes. No, I said quietly. You didn't. She blinked. What? You just taught me how to win. Her mouth opened slightly, as if to argue, but no words came. I glanced at the jacket still in her hands. It suits you, though. Maybe that's the irony of it all, wearing what you once mocked. She looked down, her voice trembling. You really don't hate me? I don't have the energy to hate anymore, I said. Hate is heavy. I travel light these days. Her eyes filled. Ethan, Don't, I interrupted softly. We both played our parts. You chased gold, I chased ghosts. Turns out, I was the one worth finding. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The store music drifted faintly, a slow piano piece, elegant and calm. I used to think, she whispered, that success would make me happy. But seeing you now. Success doesn't fix guilt, I said. Only truth does. She looked at me, lost. Do you ever think about us? Sometimes, I admitted. But not with pain. Just perspective. Her lips trembled. If I'd stayed. You'd still be you, I said gently. And I'd never have learned who I could be without you. The word surprised even me, not sharp, not bitter, just final. She gave a soft, broken laugh. You sound different. I am. I turned toward the exit. She took a small step forward. Ethan, please. I paused. You'll be fine, Lila. You always find your way to the next spotlight. And you? She asked faintly. I stopped needing one. Her silence followed me as I walked out, the kind of silence that feels heavier than any scream. Outside, the evening breeze carried the faint scent of rain and city life. I looked back once, through the glass, I saw her still standing there, surrounded by everything she once used to measure worth. Only this time, it wasn't hers. I smiled, not with arrogance, but peace. Some victories didn't need applause, they just needed silence. Karma had a quiet way of closing circles. And mine had just closed perfectly. The morning air was cool, quiet, the kind of silence that lets you hear your own thoughts. I stood in front of my father's grave, hands in my pockets, wind brushing against the edge of my coat. Hey, Dad, I said softly. It's been a while. The marble was clean, the flowers fresh. I always made sure of that. I used to come here angry, I continued. Angry at the world, at myself, at what I didn't have. But now. I think I finally get what you meant. I could almost hear his old voice, keep your head down, son. Work talks louder than pride. He'd been right. When I looked back, the memories hit in flashes, the humiliation, the laughter, the long nights sketching by candlelight, the sleepless years balancing work and study. And then the faces, Lila's mocking smile, Marcus's smug handshakes, Grace's firm encouragement, Ava's quiet laughter. Each of them had carved something into me. I knelt down, tracing the edge of my father's name. You know, I thought I was chasing revenge. Turns out, I was just trying to prove you right, that a man's worth isn't what he wears, but what he builds. The breeze picked up, carrying the faint scent of wet earth. I'm doing all right now, I said. Atelier, yeah, that's me. Global now. Paris, Milan, Tokyo. They call it the brand that redefines simplicity. Funny, huh? I just wanted to design something honest. A quiet laugh escaped me. You'd have hated the cameras, though. Too many questions, too many lights. I looked up at the gray sky. But I stayed grounded, Dad. I didn't lose myself. My phone buzzed in my pocket, another message from the team about the new collection launch. I ignored it for a moment. I used to think success would taste like revenge, I said quietly. But it doesn't. It tastes like peace. I stood, brushing dirt from my knees. On my way back to the car, Ava's voice echoed in my head from the night before. You still think about her sometimes, don't you? I'd shrugged. Sometimes. Not out of love, just memory. Because some ghosts don't haunt you anymore. They just remind you where you've been. Later that afternoon, I stopped by one of our flagship stores. A massive window display showed our latest campaign, clean lines, elegant models, the brand name shining above, Atelier. Inside, customers buzzed between racks, their laughter filling the air. I didn't announce myself, I never did. I liked blending in, watching quietly. A woman at the counter caught my eye, the bag in her hand, sleek and minimal, one of mine. She smiled as she paid, unaware of who designed it, who built the world behind that name. That's when it struck me, how full the circle had turned. Lila once laughed at my thrift store suit. I could still hear it, that echo of shame and disbelief. But now, the world that once looked down on me wore my creations, carried my label, lived inside my designs. And I didn't need to gloat. The irony was already perfect. Back in the car, I leaned against the seat, closing my eyes. My reflection in the window looked calm, not the boy who'd been broken by laughter, but the man who'd learned to turn pain into art. I whispered, she laughed at my old clothes once. Now, every time she shops, she wears my name. And for the first time, I truly smiled, not out of pride, but peace.